Have you ever shown up for your family only to realize they never showed up for you? Have you ever planned a party, paid for it, dressed your best, and still found yourself sitting alone in the corner? This isn't just a story about a dinner gone wrong. It's a story about a folding chair and everything it represented. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you a true story, one that may sound painfully familiar. It's a story about family expectations, invisible burdens, and the quiet rebellion of finally saying no. But more than that, it's about healing, about setting boundaries, about finding your voice, even if it trembles the first time you use it. By the end of this video, you'll understand why it's okay to step away from people who keep taking, how to build a life that feels like yours, and what it means to reclaim your seat at the table or build a new table entirely. This story begins on the 28th floor of a rooftop restaurant in Columbus. The skyline sparkled. The wine was aged, my dress was perfect, and I was not invited to the family table. I had chosen the venue, paid the deposit, curated the menu down to the last drop of Cabernet, but when I arrived, they sat me in a metal folding chair by the exit as far from the celebration as they could manage. And in that moment, something shifted. Something old broke quietly, and something new began to take root. It wasn't rage. It wasn't even sadness. It was clarity. And with it came the strength to make the hardest decision of my life, to finally stop proving my worth and start protecting it. So what happens when you stop saying yes just to be included? Let me take you back to where it all began. We grow up believing that family means unconditional love, that no matter what happens, there's always a seat at the table with your name on it. But what if that seat only exists as long as you're useful? What if belonging isn't love but a transaction? I used to think being the dependable one meant I was valued. I thought paying for birthdays, bringing the extra folding chairs, cleaning up after everyone, that was my way in. That was how I earned my place. But here's what no one tells you. When love is conditional, the conditions never end. I remember being 16, staying up late to help my brother finish a school project he forgot about, only for my parents to praise him for his creativity. In college, when I couldn't afford a new laptop, I waited. When he needed one, my parents co-signed the loan without hesitation. And when I bought my first car with cash I'd saved working 2 jobs, my dad asked, "Couldn't you have helped your brother instead?" It didn't feel cruel. It felt normal. Because when you're raised to believe love must be earned, you don't question the price, you just keep paying it. So many people live this way. The emotional labor, the money, the silence. We become experts at shrinking ourselves just enough to stay in the photo, even if we're always a little out of focus. Belonging isn't real if it requires you to disappear to keep it. A seat at the table means nothing if you're not seen, heard, or valued in it. And sometimes, all it takes to see that truth is one cold metal chair, set apart from the rest. In the next part, we'll talk about the chair that broke the illusion and how something so small revealed everything I didn't want to admit. Let's keep going. It was silver, cold, slightly wobbly on one leg. That folding chair at the edge of the dining room didn't just hold my body. It held every unspoken rule about my place in the family. We don't talk much about hierarchy in families. We assume everyone's equal sons and daughters, siblings, parents, and children. But some families, whether they realize it or not, operate like a pyramid. At the top, the golden child, the one whose mistakes get spun into misunderstandings, whose dreams are funded without question, whose seat at the table is padded, polished, and always waiting. And then there are the supporters, the fixers, the fillers of gaps. We set the table, we cover the checks, we make it all work, and still end up sitting by the door. That night, I saw it clearly for the first time. 20 people in a room, a table filled with laughter, wine, applause, and one metal chair with my name on it. Not a mistake, not a seating shortage, a message. This is how much space you're allowed to take up. You might be thinking it's just a chair, but think about it. The seat you're offered says everything about how you're valued. Are you part of the conversation or listening from the fringe? Are you a guest of honor or an afterthought? Sometimes the smallest signals hold the loudest truths. That chair was my turning point, not because it was uncomfortable, but because it was accurate. It showed me exactly where I stood. But standing up from that chair, that was the beginning of something bigger. In the next part, I'll share what happened when I finally said no. Not quietly, not apologetically, just clearly. Let's talk about the moment I stopped playing my role and what it cost me. There's a kind of silence that comes right before a storm. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that holds its breath while everyone waits to see what you'll do. That's what it felt like when the waiter handed me the leather folder, and all eyes turned to me. $4,000. That's what the celebration cost, the one I planned, paid a deposit for, and wasn't invited to properly join. And just like always, they expected me to cover it, quietly, willingly, gratefully, because that's what I'd always done. But something was different this time. Maybe it was the ache in my back from the folding chair. Maybe it was the weight of the vintage watch in my purse, the one I'd bought as a gift for my brother, who couldn't even save me a seat. Or maybe it was just enough. So I stood up. My voice didn't shake. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, I was told this wasn't the family table. I won't be paying for a party I wasn't invited to be part of. And the room cracked open. Bailey's father asked questions. My brother stammered. My mother's smile froze in place. No one saw it coming, least of all me. But what I remember most is the way my heart slowed down, like it had been racing for years, trying to keep up with everyone else's needs. And it finally realized it didn't have to. We're taught that saying no is selfish, that it's cruel, that it means we don't love enough, or give enough, or care enough. But here's what I've learned. No can be the most honest form of love, especially when it's a love that includes yourself. Because saying no isn't about shutting people out. It's about making space for truth, for respect, for healing. I didn't say no to my family that night because I stopped loving them. I said no because I started loving me. Of course, no one tells you what happens after that moment. The guilt, the pushback, the voices that say, "You've changed," the manipulation that tries to pull you right back in. In the next part, we're going to talk about what comes after the no, and why standing your ground is often harder than saying the words the first time. Let's keep going. They say silence is loud, but guilt can scream. Mine came in the form of phone calls, voicemails, text messages that started with "I can't believe you would" and ended with "after all we've done for you." You'd think walking away from years of being the fixer would feel like freedom. And in some ways, it did. But what no one prepares you for is the emotional whiplash when the people you've always helped suddenly decide you're the villain in their story. That night, as I stepped into the elevator and the restaurant faded behind me, my phone buzzed. How could you embarrass me like that? You've ruined everything. This is why we don't include you. And then came the voicemail from my father. Your mother is crying. I hope you're happy. This is how manipulation often shows up in families, not as screaming, but as carefully placed guilt, wrapped in concern, laced with duty, drenched in emotional history. It's called gaslighting, and it's not always obvious. Sometimes it sounds like, "We never asked you to do all that," or "You're the one who likes to be in control." Or worse, "You've always been too sensitive." And the most powerful tool they use, that one phrase that cuts deeper than any other, "You're so selfish." But here's what I realized, alone in my apartment that night. Saying no to being used isn't selfish. Refusing to fund dysfunction isn't selfish. Protecting your peace isn't selfish. Guilt is not proof that you did something wrong. Sometimes it's just a signal that you've stopped following someone else's script. And that's okay. It still hurt. Of course, it hurt to read the messages, to feel the familiar pull. Fix it. Apologize. Make it go away. But I didn't. I let the silence stretch. And in that silence, something else bloomed. Clarity. Strength. A new kind of peace. In the next part, I want to take you inside what came after the silence. Not just the loneliness, but the quiet rebuilding. Because once the noise fades, the healing begins. Let's talk about what it looks like to start over, on your terms. At first, the quiet felt foreign. No buzzing phone, no urgent texts, no one asking for help with rent, planning, or just one more thing. Just stillness. And in that stillness, I met a version of myself I'd forgotten. The one who liked quiet mornings, who drank coffee slowly, who didn't check her banking app in fear of someone else overdrawing a shared account. Healing didn't look dramatic. It looked like buying a small oak table one with 4 matching chairs, because I no longer needed to keep an extra folding chair for people who only showed up when they needed something. It looked like deleting calendar reminders for other people's bills, buying a new set of bedsheets, planting rosemary on my balcony, just because it made the air smell good. People talk about starting over like it's this grand, cinematic moment. But honestly, it's small. It's washing your own dishes, cooking for one and enjoying it, sleeping through the night because your mind isn't budgeting for everyone else's life. I remember one evening, maybe a month after the dinner, I got home from work and noticed the apartment felt warm. Not just in temperature, but in presence. Not because anyone was there, but because I was fully, no longer split between who I am and who they expected me to be. Healing doesn't always come with applause. It comes in whispers, soft moments that say, "You're safe now." And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is simply rest. But of course, peace doesn't mean the past won't knock again. Sometimes, healing invites unexpected visitors, apologies, regrets, even reconciliations. In the next part, I want to show you what happened when they came back, what I saw, and what I chose to do. Let's keep going. He knocked on my door at 7 a.m. 3 short raps, loud but rehearsed like he was performing frustration instead of feeling it. Logan stood in the hallway, red-faced and breathless, as if the world owed him an apology he hadn't yet scripted. "You've destroyed everything," he said. Before I even opened the door fully, Bailey had left. Her father had pulled the wedding deposit. His new business idea had fallen through again. And suddenly, I wasn't just the sister. I was the problem. That's the thing about people who thrive on control. They don't know what to do when the usual buttons stop working. They offer half apologies, followed by full expectations. They call it love, but it's just leverage. "We can work this out. I'll pay you back. I promise. Come on. Sid, don't abandon me now." But there's always an if. If you cover this one thing, if you say it was a misunderstanding, if you fall back into the role they wrote for you, and for a moment, just a moment, the old reflex rose, to fix it, to smooth it over, to protect him again. But then I remembered the chair, the restaurant, the silence, the years, and I said the word that set me free once more. "No." He looked stunned. Not angry, not yet. just disoriented, like a magician realizing his favorite trick had stopped working. Because when someone is used to power without consequences, your boundary feels like betrayal. Sometimes redemption arcs aren't real. They're scripts written to get you back into orbit, but you're allowed to walk off the page. Not everyone wants to change. Some just want things back the way they were, where they benefit, and you stay small. And that's okay. Letting someone face their own consequences isn't cruelty. It's the only way they might ever grow. And while some people stay stuck in their stories, others begin to write new ones with you. In the next part, I'll tell you about the table I built from scratch. Not for obligation, not for duty, but for joy. Let's talk about what it means to choose your people and be chosen in return. There's a special kind of warmth in being surrounded by people who see you not for what you can offer, but for who you are. That warmth, it doesn't always come from the people you share blood with. Sometimes it comes from the ones you meet over coffee at work. The neighbor who brings your mail in when it rains. The friend who texts. You don't have to explain, I get it. They call it found family. And once you experience it, it changes everything. A few months after the dinner, I hosted my first real gathering in my apartment. No metal chairs. No seating charts based on obligation. Just 8 matching chairs around a wooden table I bought with money I used to save for family emergencies. We passed potatoes seasoned with rosemary from my balcony garden. We clinked glasses water, wine, coffee mugs, and toasted to boundaries. To peace, to choosing one another. There was no tension in the air. No waiting for the next demand. Just laughter that didn't come with strings attached. My mom was there too, not as the orchestrator of guilt, but as someone learning genuinely how to rebuild trust brick by brick. She brought her notepad from the boundary workshop she'd started attending. She helped with the dishes. She listened more than she spoke. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And for the first time in a long time, I felt safe. Here's the thing. Belonging isn't about history. It's about reciprocity. It's not about shared DNA, it's about shared respect. You deserve a table where your seat isn't earned through sacrifice, where you can bring your full self messy, healing, whole, and still be welcomed. And once you've built that kind of circle, you begin to realize something else. Your story, the one filled with bruises and breakthroughs, can light the path for someone else. In the next part, I'll show you how healing quietly turns into helping, and how your past pain can become someone else's first step to freedom. Let's continue. When I finally stopped living as everyone's backup plan, something surprising happened. People started coming to me not for help, but for hope. It began with quiet conversations in break rooms, a coworker pulling me aside after a staff meeting, a whisper of, "My brother's been borrowing money for years too. I don't know how to say no." I didn't give advice right away. I just shared what I'd lived through. The folding chair, the unpaid bills, the first trembling no, and their eyes would widen, not with pity, but with recognition. You too. I thought I was the only one. That's when I knew the story I once carried like a weight could become a bridge. So I started something small, a monthly workshop at the community center, boundaries and belonging. We talked about how to say no without apology, how to set up separate bank accounts, how to spot emotional manipulation disguised as love. We shared stories, some quiet, some still raw. And slowly, we started helping each other unlearn what we were taught to tolerate. One woman came in crying because her parents called her ungrateful for moving out. Another man had just cut off a cousin who drained his savings with fake emergencies. Each of them walked in carrying guilt. Most of them left carrying permission. That's the thing about healing. Once you stop bleeding, you start becoming someone else's bandage. And not because you have to fix them, but because your clarity helps them see what's possible. Your story doesn't need to be perfect to have power. It just needs to be honest. What once made you feel small can now make someone else feel seen. And after all the stories, all the lessons, all the folding chairs left behind, you begin to understand you don't just deserve a seat at the table, you deserve to choose the table itself. In the final part, I'll show you what that looks like. A life defined not by what you gave up for others, but by what you finally claimed for yourself. Let's finish this journey together. The folding chair didn't disappear. It's still there, tucked into a corner of my parents' dining room. Legs slightly uneven, metal cool to the touch. No one talks about it. No one sits in it anymore, either. But I see it. And I remember, not out of bitterness, not to hold on to anger, but to remind myself of how far I've come a year ago. That chair told me who I was to them. Today, it tells me who I've become to myself. Now, I sit at a table I built. Oak wood, steady legs, 8 matching chairs. No one gets a better seat. No one sits by the door. My life is filled not with people who take from me, but people who bring something to the table. Stories, laughter, honesty, quiet presence. There are still family dinners. Sometimes I go, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I bring the cranberry sauce and a smile. Other times, I protect my peace and stay home. And you know what? Both choices are okay, because belonging isn't about proving yourself anymore. It's about feeling safe in your own skin wherever you are. The folding chair may still exist, but that doesn't mean you have to sit in it. You can outgrow the roles they gave you. You can rewrite the story. You can take up space not with noise, but with quiet self-respect. Whether you're just beginning to question the seat you've been assigned, or you've already stood up and walked away. Know this, you are not alone. You are not selfish. You are not too much. You're just finally choosing to sit where you belong. If this story made you feel seen, if it reminded you of your own folding chair, share it with someone who needs that reminder too. Drop a comment below and tell me, what was your folding chair moment? And what are you building now? Because someone else is waiting to feel a little less alone. And maybe your story is exactly what they need to hear next. Thank you for listening. You deserve a place that feels like home.